The information and suggestions given in this podcast should not be considered as clinical or medical advice. Consult with a physician before implementing any information provided on this podcast. Metabolic Radio. So,
let's do it.
We need to talk about giving people advice on how to find the right personal trainer. I mean, we've touched upon this a couple times.
Kind of. A little bit.
Yeah, like
briefly.
we kind of teased about it last time. And I really think that they need to know specific things to look for in a trainer. Things like certifications, experience level, where to look, prices they should expect to pay, that kind of thing.
That the scary thing is search don't necessarily mean anything. But
that's true, but
I get it.
It does mean something. It holds people to a certain standard.
Right, agreed.
You know? So, I guess we need to give people a reason why they should hire a trainer. We obviously know it can get expensive. Hiring a personal trainer allows you to have a resource that is educated enough and knowledgeable and hopefully has enough experience to be able to filter the correct information to you in a concise way to help educate you on what you personally need for your goals and your fitness, with pushing all other irrelevant fitness concepts or advice aside.
Which is actually hard to find in person because most people don't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
trainers included.
A lot of trainers create a program that and a programming that they follow for every client, which ends up being cookie cutter.
Which the funny thing is about you can actually start cookie cutter, but you always have to modify.
Yeah, I mean, you can have, obviously there's specific concepts and principles that you base everything off of. And I tell my clients that, we base men and women and different age groups and different goals based off of the same foundational principles about
right.
physiology and fitness and nutrition and exercise science. But they're... and I do a lot of the same foundational exercises like we talked about in the last episode with all my clients, given if they can perform those. But that's a basic guide and a basic foundation, but it should allow for some fluidity, flexibility
always.
and adjusting,
right.
Their programming.
Yep.
So I think that you definitely need, one thing people that you need to look for in a trainer is, do they have some structure? Do they have, principles that they work off of, but are they accommodating to your personal needs?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, because they need to definitely do that. And I think we mentioned it in the last episode too, that a trainer usually most trainers will offer a free initial session as a way for you to test to see if you want to train with them.
I'm kind of with... might as well just use their names. Adam. I'm like what Adam said all the time. We watch. Watch him in the gym. I mean, if you're going into a gym that you've been in for a while, granted you can't watch them if you're going in and meeting them first off. But if you got time to actually watch them and you've been in training, you pay attention to what they're doing, because if they're paying attention to their people or what.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the average person, and some of you listening probably have done this, will watch the trainer that they are thinking about training with for an average of 2 to 3 months before they even approach them.
Yep.
And I think you should do that.
Get a feel.
I've had multiple clients tell me after we started training a few months and after they started seeing some results. One client in particular that I can think of who's been training with me on and off now for over a year. And he told me, he said, I watched you for 3 months and asked around about asked other members and asked your clients and things like that what they thought about you before you even knew that I was going to approach you. And so, trainers should know this, but you should watch them and you should see what training with them is going to look and feel like.
Right.
How much do they pay attention to their clients? Do they text? Are they on their phone? And you pay attention too, because sometimes trainers will use apps that are helpful.
Absolutely.
To help the session,
keep track
of things. There's a lot of
things.
digitization going into using like different things on the phone for tracking.
There's a lot of things you can track on the phone.
So make sure that when you see a trainer on the phone, they're not necessarily not paying attention to their client. They're sometimes logging information, but that's a good indicator. If they are willing to charge, the average rates, which are $30 a half hour, $60 an hour, unless you're working with a higher tier quality trainer, which can be upwards of hundreds of dollars an hour.
Oh, yeah.
If
especially depending on where you live.
Yeah, that's true. But if they're on their phone and you can see they're texting, they do not value you as a client, and they do not have as great of an appreciation for you if they're doing that. So definitely, make sure and see what kind of attention you're getting from your trainer, and if they're present in your session, or if they're just having you lift and they're counting your reps for you, pretty much. I think reasons why you would consider working with a trainer, you have to ask yourself that question. Well, why do I need a trainer?
That's a starting point anyway, because if you don't need a trainer, what's the point in even looking at them?
Yeah, I mean, like, some people might determine, I'm really not that invested in my fitness. Probably not a lot of our listeners are. A lot of our listeners are already invested in their fitness, and that's why they're listening. So, but you have to say.
I was going to say, dude, if somebody's listening to a podcast about fitness, they're higher on the chain of what they're doing. Anyway.
Well, they're taking action for sure.
Absolutely, they're moving forward to something. So that puts somebody who's listening to this in a higher level automatically. But
yeah, so really determining, okay, if I'm going to hire a trainer, why am I doing that? Am I trying to look better? Am I trying to rehab an injury? Am I trying to feel better? Am I trying to improve my performance? Do I want to be stronger? Do I want to learn certain concepts? Or do I want to just hire them to work me out so I don't have to think about it? A lot of people hire a trainer just so the trainer will design their workout so they'll actually see results, so they don't have to think about it, and it's not a stress for them.
Which isn't a problem. That's nothing wrong with that.
That's not a problem, as long as you understand you're dependent on them 100%, and the second you stop working with them, you'll start to regress.
Yeah.
But you want to look for a trainer that
teaches you.
That it teaches you, has the heart of a teacher, but also the heart of a student, and is willing to continue to learn and adapt their programming.
Oh, I agree with that without question.
Yeah, but also is willing to educate you.
Yes, in the same timeline. So here's a question. When you first meet, because let me step back one step. If you came in and you meet someone who's a brand new trainer, you can't really experience them training somebody else. So, what would you do if you were starting out and you met someone who doesn't have time in the gym? If you're meeting somebody for the first time as a trainer,
you mean like they've that's like their first day there?
It could be their first day, it could be their first week, but they don't have any real previous history.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if that's the case, and that's like one of your very first days actually in a fitness facility, and you're actually sitting there talking to a trainer, which often is the case when you're being sold on your membership. So a lot of the times it's either a membership salesperson or it's often a trainer.
Yep.
And they're going to schedule you for a free initial consultation session to get you integrated and do an assessment with you. The things to look for in that are make sure they're actually doing an assessment. They should be assessing where you're at, telling you your current fitness level. Oh, you have a muscle imbalance here. Your range of motion is limited here. Is that movement painful for you? Do you have any injuries? They should be really trying to learn as much about you and your body as they can, and also educating you on some concepts like, a common misconception is this, or you ought to focus on, resistance training more for your goal versus just doing aerobic training, or different things like that. You want, like I said, you want them to be learning about you so that you can see they're dedicated to keeping you safe and actually invested in your goals and giving you advice, as well as, just educating you on some basic concepts. Typically, in my opinion, a great trainer will give away plenty of free information in that first session to build value with you. I mean, that's part of the sales process. Like, let's be honest, sales is just showing someone that whatever the product or service is that they're providing is valuable and it's worth what they charge, or you're getting a great amount of value for a very great deal. So if they're not demonstrating value to you, that might not be the trainer that you want to work with. But they should be, a great trainer will definitely be willing to help for free initially, if that's part of their programming, if their process where they offer you a free session, they should be definitely trying to educate you in that process.
See, and they in my eyes, they wouldn't necessarily have to be free, but when you're talking to them,
that's what I meant. That's why I said if it's part of their process.
Right,
Not everyone offers a free session, but
so yeah, and I'm going to tell you that I think that the biggest things that I would think is when you sit down with them, you want to talk to them about. They're going to ask you questions about your actual needs. So you'll sit down something like and say things like, I'm here to lose weight. I'm here to, I want to gain more muscle. I want to, like Taylor said, rehab. I want to go through these things. And then they're going to start trying to isolate it. So they'll say, so you say you want to lose weight. Is it because you're worried about how you look? Is it because you're worried about you really are too heavy? You just feel like you're too heavy? Or is it his appearance? Is it how you feel? Blah, blah, blah. And they start to isolate it down. So when they're giving, shall we say, free information on this, because they absolutely have to give you free information or they're not selling anything.
Yeah.
So if they are going down that line, they're trying to isolate it so that you and they both have the same understanding on what your end result goal is.
Exactly.
Like I always point out, which is the honest to goodness truth is most people aren't trying to lose weight. That's maybe a part of an end result, but it's just to feel better and to look better. I mean, that's almost always somebody who wants to lose weight what they want.
Yeah.
They're not really concerned about weight. They think they are because the scale's always been their main tool, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
So, but if they're isolating, they're doing this correctly when they're working this through, that's one of the motivations they're looking for is to figure out that you are looking for that, or because you may not care. You may just want to lose weight. I mean, I've never met anybody who's that way, but you may just want to lose weight, in which case it's like, okay, well, sweet, this is the actual goal. Now we both know you really want. You care less how you look or feel. You just want to lose. You want an end result where you weigh 45 pounds less.
Yeah, I think it's really important in that session to be completely open and candid with your trainer or your potential trainer, because if you hesitate or you're embarrassed about discussing a certain aspect or your body image or things like that, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not educating them on how best to help you.
Right.
And so that's going to make it look like they don't understand your goals as well if you don't provide them that information. So definitely be open and share as much information as you can about your fitness history, injuries, medical conditions, even embarrassing things like your own self-image, like how do you feel about the way you look, the negative self-talk that we often tell ourselves, that kind of stuff. Inform your trainer about that because that's going to help them understand how to help you. When I'm working with a client for the first day, or a potential client, I should say, I try to figure out their personality. I try to figure out who they are. I try to figure out what triggers them to feel a certain way, or to do they have confidence in themselves?
Right.
Or, do they have a social circle of support? Is their spouse talking down about their body and their fitness level? You'd be surprised some of the things that people emotionally struggle with, and that's what forces them to go to see a trainer.
Right.
And so I try to assess that so I can connect with my client and really understand how to help them and try to gauge their personality, so I can say, okay, this is a sarcastic person that needs a little bit of joking and fun in the workout, or this is a person that really has been broken and needs to not be pushed but needs to be guided and be built up and reinforced.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have a reinforcing person in their life. And so you're looking for a coach. You're looking for someone who will see what you need, will help deliver what you need, help you understand what you need, and do it in a way that is accommodating to your personality and at the right pace.
Right, and I think that's part of the key to this is a lot of times we think that we want one thing when we don't.
Oh yeah.
And as a trainer, as a good trainer, you're going to find a good trainer that actually is going to lead you down that path so that you actually know what you really are looking for. and say, so that way when you start to actually make progress, you don't feel like you're fighting against, like I said, the tool of the scale. You're fighting towards a goal, and the scale weight may be higher, but you look better. Mm-hmm. And then so your goal is an illusion. It's not an illusion. You're actually working in the direction you want to work. And I think a good trainer, actually, I know that a good trainer is going to go down that road. They are going to make it so that you understand your end results are going to be going the right direction, mm-hmm. and you may think that you're not, mm-hmm. and so that you can actually see the right things. One of the things that I see with a trainer that you have to have is being able to funny as this is, tailor your experience to the person. They've got to be able to change it up. That's why I was saying in the beginning, when you have a routine, okay, it's not a bad thing to have a carbon copy routine to start with, but you can't stay with that because a carbon copy isn't necessarily going to work with the person in front of you. It won't be towards their goals. It won't be towards whatever their problems are, and those things should modify how the experience goes from that point. So you can start with a base. They can start with a base routine, and actually do the exact same thing with every single person to start with, in my mm-hmm. opinion. But they've got to modify it as they find out more about the person and go towards their goals.
Yeah, I mean, my first session, I have kind of a formula that I follow where I sit down with them. We fill out a kind of a questionnaire of where are you at, what is your goal, right. What is the motivating factor behind your goal, what injury history do you have. So we go through this questionnaire, so I learn about them. And that's more conversational, and I take notes mm-hmm. as we do that so I can learn the person. Then I make sure that I'm familiar with any injuries before we actually go into the workout. The workout is generally going through a lot of those foundational movements we talked about in the last episode, given if they can do that. So I usually test their range of motion first. I get them warmed up. We test range of motion and flexibility so I can see their basic movement patterns. Then I put them into the exercises that are foundational, that are appropriate. I look for muscle deviations mm-hmm. and imbalances.
Yeah, good assessment's key to understand body mechanics.
Yeah, and then, after a light assessment-based workout, then I take them back. I tell them what I saw. I show them where they're good, where they need work. I give them an estimate based off their goal and their current fitness level, how long they need to work with me, not just how long they want to work with me. Like, say they come in and think, I'm going to work with you for 2 months. That's what I can hire a trainer for. And I say, okay, realistically, where you're at, you need to work with a trainer for 6 months, because of where you're at and what you're trying to do. You should do it at this frequency and you should do 30-minute sessions or or hour sessions. And then, so once I give that recommendation,
they don't have illusions.
Yeah,
on how fast they can do it.
That's how a person can know what to expect. And
then
we work really back from there and we say, okay, now what's your budget? Now what's your schedule like? And then we start to piece that together. But a good trainer should be assessing you, not trying to kick your butt in the first workout. That won't do you any good.
That's destructive, I think. That's actually destructive overall anyway.
I think there's a small percentage of people that respond to that, and
they do personally because that's the illusion that they think they need.
Yes, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never worked out like that before in my life. This trainer's going to do awesome for me."
Yeah, yep.
Any decent trainer can create a hard workout
and
for
destroy
you.
it.
Yeah, and so that's not an indicator that they're a good trainer. That's an indicator that they like to push their clients hard.
Yep.
Which isn't necessarily what you need right away.
Rarely, in my opinion, is it what you need.
If you want some insight on why trainers do that, oftentimes it's either an ego thing, but in my opinion, it's more often, my experience, it's more often that their sales process or one of their managers or something told them, look, give them a really hard workout because it's going to help sell them on training. Get their heart rate going. Get them having a better harder workout than they've had on their own, and it will convince them to buy training because they know they can't push themselves that hard as much as you can. There's also some physiological changes that go on in your body that increase mood, endorphins, that increase positivity, good emotions. You start associating, sometimes when you're having a hard workout, you actually can associate good feelings with that, and it puts you in a mood that you're more inclined to say yes to personal training. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but be aware of that. So you just want to make sure that the trainer is focused on helping you, not manipulating you.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't feel like a high-pressure sales experience. Now, will it be uncomfortable when you talk about money? Probably. That's just a given. But that depends on your income level and what you're expecting their pricing is going to be and those kind of things.
Right, and you should do some research on actual cost in your area so that you have an idea ahead of time anyway. And to be honest, some people don't actually feel like their value is as good as it probably is, but in my opinion, they're going to be higher cost if they're good trainers too.
Absolutely. That's one thing that is important to note is that there are some trainers and or gym facilities potentially that will charge an above average rate or a very expensive rate, $80, $90, $100 an hour, $150 an hour. Some of those trainers are worth that amount of money because of their experience, because of what they'll do for you, because of how good of results and quality of training you'll receive and resources. And some of them raise their rates to that level in order to create a sense of prestige or a sense of status that you're getting that experience when you're not really getting it.
Yeah, but here's the other question.
And to cover overhead.
No, that's what I was going to say. Is I think a lot of people, not people. Let's just do this company based because I don't want to put this on anybody directly. But I think a lot of companies are expecting this to fail and be short lived, and so they're trying to get as much money out of the person for a short period of time. And cover overhead, like you were saying, and all that kind of stuff. And in that case, you're going to see a higher rate just because they don't expect you to stay.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's as
often.
That
depends on if they're locking in the person into a certain level of commitment or not. Like
that's true too.
Some training will be month to month, and some training is 12-month contract. It just kind of depends on the place. But one thing to remember is if you're shopping for a trainer, and you're looking in a big box gym that's like a chain franchise, maybe not even a chain, but just a big box gym that they have trainers that are employees there that aren't running their own business, but they are employees. Know that the money you're paying, that trainer is likely getting 25% to a third of the money. If they're lucky, they'll get 50% of the money. So if you're, the average rate for a trainer, at least in the kind of the area that we're in, which is based out of Salt Lake City, Utah, half an hour sessions are going to be $30 to $35 an hour. This is average, and $60 an hour on average. There's trainers out here at gyms that I know of that charge over $100. And there's trainers that charge as little as $25 an hour, but sometimes you get what you pay for. And so you want to look at investing in a trainer, but understand that if you're in a big box gym, that trainer is getting paid significantly less than you think they are, and that can impact their motivation to help you.
Sure.
Not saying that trainers in gyms are bad. I'm not saying that at all, but just understand that they're, if you're paying $60 an hour, they're probably getting paid $20. And the gym is paying their overhead and taking their profit out of that bigger chunk. So just to kind of give you some perspective on the experience. Now, if you're seeking out someone at a private studio or that runs their own facility, their own business, they're going to charge more than just average rates. They're going to be charging closer to $100 an hour, 80 plus absolutely. Probably. And
overhead.
Don't necessarily turn that down. They have the overhead, yes, but if maybe they don't have the overhead, but they're charging those rates, check their experience, check their qualifications and certs, and ask for testimonials. That's huge.
Testimonials once they've got experience, for sure.
And because they often can be worth that amount of money, and you'll get an experience that's equivalent to that.
Well, see, that's why I kind of brought up earlier. If somebody's new in the industry and they don't have the experience, you're not going to have the testimonials. You're not going to have a lot of word of mouth because there is no word of mouth because you'll become their word of mouth. And they may be worth the money. Now, usually those guys aren't going to be as expensive because they're starting. Mm-hmm. But just because they're starting out as a new guy, they may be worth that money. I like I said, and
something that's interesting to note, a new trainer is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Now, are they less experienced and they don't have as much experience?
They will be less experienced
with
because they have to be.
applying their knowledge.
Right.
Correct. However, they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're fresh in it,
and they're pushing forward.
They love fitness. They just got certified. They're ready to help. They're very motivated. Some trainers get very cynical, very closed-minded, and very negative at the longer they train.
Right.
And you have to watch out for that because they're not necessarily interested in you. They're interested in making their paycheck and leaving. And because training is a hard industry to be full-time successful.
I think you can feel that, though, in the conversation. That's why I'm saying when you're asking questions, let me rephrase that. When they're asking questions, because I don't think your questions are going to be as detailed. They may be very good at responding to your questions. Mm-hmm. And I think when they're asking their questions and you watch what they're or you take what they're asking about and you put it together, you can get a pretty good feel on if they care or not. That's what I'm saying. If they're trying to take it and make it into a program for you and make it so it can fix problems or it can work through certain things, then you got some pretty good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another quick way to find out if a trainer is qualified for you or not, if they are booked and it's hard to get time with them,
too, for sure.
That is a good sign they're a good trainer.
Yes.
If you're like, well, this is my schedule, what times do you have available? And they're like, oh, I've got 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Which one would you like? That's kind of not necessarily a good sign because it shows that either they're brand new, which, like we said, isn't necessarily a bad thing, or they don't sustain their clientele, which means their clients don't stick with them because they either aren't seeing results or they're not having a good experience.
Right.
So, but if your trainer is like, I could fit you in 2 weeks, or I can only do this time, that's all I have available. It's hard with the schedule, but it's a good sign that they're booked out, which means that people want to train with them, which means that they are delivering results or a good experience. So check their schedule if you can, or if they're talking to you about the limitations of their schedule, that can be an indicator that they might be a good trainer.
Yep.
That
actually is a very large sign of it.
Yeah.
If they've got experience.
Yeah. Another thing, the one of the main reasons why you're going to hire a trainer is accountability. It's not that there's necessarily a lack of information. The information is there. It's just they're going to help you decipher that information for what you need. But many people that are motivated on their own will just go find that information online, and they will put that information together for what they need. If you haven't done that, you might need a system of accountability, and that's what a trainer often provides for people is a set appointment time for the gym for you to show up. It's easy to not show up for yourself because no one knows. You say, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. and then you sleep in on purpose because you're like, I'm too tired. Nobody's going to know. But if you have an appointment with a trainer at 5 a.m., the likelihood of you showing up increases dramatically. So,
especially if you have to pay even if you're not there.
Exactly.
Because that's a motivator.
Yeah. I mean, they can hold you accountable by either texting you or checking in with you throughout the week or meeting with you 3 times a week or something. Or just the fact that you have the appointment. That's accountability in and of itself. Even if they're not a great trainer, you at least have an appointment. You're going to show up because you're paying for it.
You're likely
You're
to show
financially obligated.
Well, and if you don't show up and they don't contact you, then they're not a good trainer.
Yeah, that's a good sign that they're not a good trainer necessarily. If they're not checking in on you, or it's 5 or 10 minutes past your session, they're like, hey, and they're not saying, hey, where are you? They're not super invested.
They're not invested at all. They're not super invested. Is polite. They don't care. They're in there trying to bang out another customer. They want a
or they're happy that they got a free hour to get paid.
Yep. Depending on what kind of gym they're working in too, because they might be an hourly guy.
Yeah, true.
Because that is true. That's not as common from what I've seen. You know more about the industry, obviously, than I do. But
yeah. Most trainers get paid commission. There's very few gyms or places that will pay you an hourly, and if they do, it's usually minimum wage with a smaller commission.
Exactly.
But since we're kind of talking about types of trainers and trainer personalities, I think it's good to kind of go over what I feel are kind of some of the main categories of trainers that you're going to find. We just mentioned this one. My first one would be who I call the lazy ass. Pretty much this person, they like fitness, but they're kind of just more focused on themselves and their fitness goals. They figure, oh, you know what? Training's a way to make money. It's an easy job. I like fitness. I want to hang out in the gym. I don't really want to work a typical job. I can make a better commission or if I sell training, but I'm just going to kind of do the bare minimum. I'm going to if my client shows up, they show up. If they don't, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm maybe not going to write them up workouts. I'm definitely not going to personalize or design their programming specifically for their need. I'm just going to take them through what I do or what I do with everyone else. I have a cookie cutter program to make things easy for myself. They're lazy. They don't care about you. They care about the bare minimum, and that's what they're going to do is the bare minimum. So your investment's going to be squandered, and they're not going to really be having the heart of a teacher trying to help you. They're not going to go out of their way for you. I think there's also the cynic, I would say, which is a person that's just going to be more cynical, negative. They're going to tear you down. They're going to talk to you about why you're living such a crappy lifestyle, how your habits. I mean, in a negative way, they're going to say, this you've done this to yourself. This is where you've this.
God, that ties in with your next one pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to kind of like blend them too much together, but this person tends to not reinforce you positively. Let's just put it that way. They're negative, and they aren't necessarily trying to help build you up, which is something you definitely need as reinforcement. You're going to them for help. You're saying, I am helpless in this area. I need your guidance. Please help me. And it's okay if someone is open and honest with where you're at, but if they're tearing you down as a result of that, that's probably a sign they're not necessarily the trainer for you, unless for some reason you respond to that. Well, and some people do,
and you get people that are definitely motivated by being told that they're less than they are because they want to be better than what they're saying. But I can see where that's a massive difference between that and the last person that you mentioned. Training wise, for sure. These guys are at least invested in paying attention.
Yeah. They definitely maybe want to help you, but the way they go about it isn't necessarily the best way for your personality. Where we were saying that the cynic kind of ties in with the next person we're thinking about is the idea of the drill sergeant. Some people love this in a trainer, and meaning that you show up. They're high energy. They're usually in your face. They're barking orders. You're doing a boot camp. They're telling you to push. You're going to failure, and they're telling you to do more. Usually, you'll get a really killer workout from these types of people, and they are invested in helping you
for sure.
But they often try to break you.
Yes,
that's
their goal.
They're a drill sergeant. It's militaristic style training. It's
sure.
And that's what the military does is they break their soldiers down to rebuild them up. And that's fine if you respond well to that. But again, that can tend to be pretty negative where
and I'll give the drill sergeant personality a place actually where it's legit. Okay?
I think it is legit for the right person.
Well, not just the right person, the right environment. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm going to throw out some different topics on this, but not topics, but different types of training programs. So in a CrossFit type scenario, if you had a guy that was doing CrossFit, they would be a drill sergeant type guy.
Yeah.
If you have some boot camps, will be more drill sergeant type.
Well, that's kind of how it was created.
That's right.
It's a boot camp.
Absolutely.
Because they stylized it after militaristic PT,
Absolutely, and I think that personality in a trainer actually would excel in those environments and would be probably right in that environment.
Yes.
The cynic, though they're very closely tied, I think the look on the cynic is never good. Yeah. Because they're not going to they beat up people and say how by belittling them and that happens a lot with trainers. Mm-hmm. I've watched that happen a ton with trainers, actually.
I think probably the biggest differentiator between the cynic and the drill sergeant, in my opinion, would be the drill sergeant. I mean, they could still both be wanting to help you, but the cynic is going to have more of a I'm better than you pretentious attitude.
Yeah,
meaning
sure.
The world is unhealthy, you're unhealthy, I'm a fit trainer, I am the one who has to show you how to be better. Like I said, they're cynical about you. Yeah, without me, you're nothing. They're going to be more egotistical. Now, drill sergeant can have an ego, but usually they're focused on you and they're trying to push you.
Do another one. Do another one. Do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. I think the drill sergeant, at least depending on what you're doing, in your training, it has a place. The only the only feeling I would give as a warning on the drill sergeant is a drill sergeant is going to be more likely to injure you.
Yes, that's the biggest problem with high intensity training or high intensity coaching like that, and potentially a group setting, depending on what they have you doing. That's where you're in a boot camp with 30 people going to failure, pushing as hard as you can. It's motivating. It's a kick butt workout, but which is my problem with CrossFit. They don't have time to check your form.
Which is my problem with CrossFit in a lot of ways, because it's not necessarily the ideas behind CrossFit are a bad thing. Just there's so much pressure that's pushed around it.
Yeah.
That it makes it hard. But like I said, the drill sergeant personality fits that. It fits it perfectly.
And I don't think every CrossFit trainer is a drill sergeant, but I think like you said, it would be a good. It
fits the environment.
Yeah, it fits the environment. That'd be a good way to put it. I think besides those, there's little characteristics of each of those types of trainers that actually make up a good trainer. And I would call this person the motivator or the coach. And this is the person that they know when to give you constructive criticism, like a cynic might, but they reinforce it positively. They know when to push you.
They're not tearing you down.
Yeah,
they're just working you through it.
Yeah, they know when to push you like a drill sergeant. If they're a good coach, they're going to know what your limits are, and they're going to know that you're going to want to give up before your limits, and they can safely push you to your true limit.
Right.
And they'll do that. But again, it's all kind of oriented around motivating you and reinforcing you and positively building you up, but they will push you. Right. And I think that a good health coach is going to know when to back off, when to tell you to take some time off, when to say, you know what, for today's session, we're just going to go over something very light and a different concept. Or we're not even going to work out today. Right. We're going to go over this other thing. And they are going to give you that slack like maybe a lazy trainer would.
Well, the feel.
Yeah, the feel. Like not necessarily their focus.
The motivation would be totally different. So a lazy trainer would be more about I could care less. While what he's calling the motivator right now, they would be they'd be backing off because they care more.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to put it. I think that's awesome. So I don't know. Are there any other personal trainer personality types you think that?
I think you've actually covered that pretty dang well.
Cool. So the next thing we probably should talk about is how to know if a trainer's qualified or not.
Okay, that's different.
Big.
That's different, and that's the reason why certification, when you're bringing that up, makes it easier. I don't think it's not about certifications, but certifications make it easier because it talks about the at least they've gone through a course and they have an idea what they're doing.
Yes.
And that's why certifications are definitely not crucial, but I think they definitely are an aid.
I think a good, in very rare cases, I think you're right. But I think that this industry isn't regulated.
Agreed.
We don't require state licensing.
Right.
We do require continuing education to keep our certs active, but our certification
depending on the certification.
That's
some
true.
do not.
That's true. Most nationally accredited ones do, though.
Yes, absolutely. The big ones. The big ones usually do.
You can actually let your cert lapse and still continue training. There's nothing illegal about that. You don't have to have personal trainer insurance to be a trainer. You don't have to be CPR certified to be a trainer unless you have a accredited certification.
Right, which they usually do require it.
They usually do require
absolutely.
those things.
Yep.
So you could actually be working with a personal trainer who is just a gym rat or a fitness enthusiast, even if they look great, even if they are a good trainer in certain aspects.
Well, they won't have the insurance if they hurt you. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Yeah, then they might not necessarily even have a certification. Right. So you need to ask, okay, trainer, what are your qualifications? Why should I train with you? What sets you apart from other trainers? How much experience do you have? Right. These are questions you should ask. Don't just assume that they're the best fit for you just because they're the first person you talk to.
Yep.
And so when we get talking about certifications, that's a good way to see if, are they at least educated?
Right.
We'll talk about applying that information later, but
that's the reason why I say that certifications at least give you an idea that they've had education.
Yeah. So, when it comes to certifications, there is a ton, probably hundreds of different certifications that you can get. that will train you as a personal trainer, or they'll train you for nutrition, or they'll educate you in sports conditioning, or exercise therapy and rehabilitation, or something as simple as training you on a piece of equipment like a kettlebell certification,
Yes.
or a
Absolutely.
suspension training TRX certification. All of these certifications will help you understand if your trainer, what type of experience your trainer has, and so kind of their specialization or their areas of knowledge and expertise. So ask for those. Say, what are you certified in specifically? Do you specialize in something?
You specialize is a big thing anyway. Even if they don't hold a certification in something, specializing in something that they've dealt with, because they may deal with injuries and not be certified to deal with injuries, but they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if they have experience in that direction, that's sweet. But yeah, no, like I said, that's the reason why I personally would think certification is worth it. But
yeah. And when it comes to certification, like I said, there's hundreds of them. Many of them are not necessarily what's called national. They don't hold a national accreditation. A national accreditation is a third-party organization that comes in and audits the curriculum of these personal trainer certification programs and says, okay, you are up to our standard in terms of what we require, what we think should be required for educating a personal trainer in this realm. And some of the more common accreditations are the DETC, Distance Education Training Council. They recently changed their name. I can't remember what the new acronym is, but they're the same organization. They've reorganized a little bit. Or the NCCA. Those are two third-party organizations that will actually, I mean, they pretty much endorse. Not these aren't the only ones, but these are kind of the top 5-ish certs that a trainer can hold that they are accredited. That's going to be ACE or ACE. And this is in no particular order. NASM or NASM, ISSA, I think NESTA is accredited, I'm not sure, and ACSM, which is the American College of Sports Medicine. That one requires a 4-year degree. The others do not.
NESTA is.
NESTA is, okay.
It's accredited for sure.
That's not the only. Those aren't the only ones, but those are some of the top ones that most trainers will have.
Action used to be a lower end one. They've actually increased their cert to be a to meet. Yeah, I'm a little quiet today. To meet the standard that you're talking about, because that's another one it's classified as a lower end one. I wouldn't call it a lower end one. That's not fair. But it's a less costly way for people to get certified.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm forgetting a big one. The National Strength and Conditioning Association, NSCA. That is a great cert, and they're nationally accredited. So when you're talking about some of these certifications, I would recommend you hire a trainer that has a nationally accredited certification. So one of the ones we just listed.
Just again for sanity reasons.
Yeah, just they're held to a higher standard. You're going to get a little bit more educated trainer when you do that. Now, like I said, how they apply that information is up to them, but they will be up to a certain standard. That also means that they will be required to hold personal trainer insurance and CPR certification.
Right, which is a big deal.
Usually to hold their certification.
Yes, CPR I know is. At least
that's required for all the accredited ones.
Absolutely, because you have to have that for potential risks.
Yeah, personal trainer insurance is not always required to hold their certification, but many gyms require it and employers require it.
A lot of these actually have insurance tied in with it.
Yes, that's been something that's been developing over the last few years. I've noticed.
Yeah.
With when I've been renewing my certifications, they now offer an insurance program as part of that.
Yep.
And that's something you want.
Yep, for sure.
I mean,
because if you get hurt, you want to have somebody that's going to be able to protect that.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, I have not, seriously injured any clients of mine. Do people tweak things here and there? Sure, that happens. It's physical activity.
I've got a joke. His goal is to do that sooner than later, but that's just because
to injure a client.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
That's only if I train with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if I start
I
training
might try
with
to
him,
injure you.
but then again, I wouldn't go after his insurance.
Yeah. So it is nice
Just playing.
to ask that trainer, are you insured? Like, are you committed to taking care of me? Because a good trainer that actually cares about their clients will insure themselves. Yes, it protects them.
Absolutely.
Sure,
Absolutely.
it protects them from
Absolutely.
lawsuit, but they've thought about it, which means they do care that you get taken care of in a way that if you get injured and you feel that the only way for things to be better or to cover medical costs is to sue them, it's good that they have that insurance there for you.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't even have to do
whether
that
they
on the road.
did that purposely for you or not, it's there, and they've thought about that protection. So ask them if they have a personal trainer insurance, and then you can rest easy knowing that if you did, goodness forbid, get injured, then you have some protection there. And then obviously CPR and AED defibrillator certification, you want that just because if anything did happen where they needed to perform CPR, then they actually are experienced in that to be able to help you until real emergency professionals arrive. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's another thing to add to those, but
No, you hit that pretty well in my eyes.
Yeah, most of all of those nationally accredited certifications will require the CPR at least. So there's different reasons to work with a personal trainer, and if you're not necessarily
Which we
knowing,
covered some of them.
we
already.
did, but if you're not really knowing what your reason is yet for you, a good thing to look at would be, we talked about accountability. So we talked about some coaching and motivation.
And compassion.
Yeah.
We talked about some
You
ways
need
to deal with it so they actually know so that you know that they care, because they actually do care.
Yeah.
Because that's a big part of it, in my opinion.
I mean, most trainers, at least when they start out, they're passionate about what they do, and that's why they decided.
To an extent, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure, there's the exception of the trainer that is just completely lazy and doesn't really care or whatever.
Right.
It just happens to be a job for them or something. But I would say that the majority of trainers care, and they want to work with you and they want to help you. To whatever extent, that's going to vary. But you want to look for compassion, support, empathy, those types of more emotional connection. You want to be able to connect with your trainer. So I think them being able to relate to you and vice versa, and them being able to, like we said, just be compassionate with you. That's a really important key factor in a trainer, and that's one reason why you should start looking for a trainer is, or a characteristic to look for in a trainer. Now, another thing is nutritional guidance.
And I will tell you that not all trainers are going to have the capacity to do that, because I think that's something that more certification type stuff is going to help you with it. And when he talks guidance, it is slightly different than them writing a plan, because usually they don't write a plan.
Yeah. So
that's a legality that they don't have the right to do it right up front, most of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's this gray area a little bit with the difference in education between trainers, even athletic trainers, people with degrees in exercise science or kinesiology, and those who are dietitians, registered dietitians, licensed nutritionists that actually hold state licenses for that. A nutritionist. Licensed nutritionist and dietitian can do what's called nutritional prescription.
Right.
They basically can prescribe food as if it's medicine for you, in a sense.
In a sense, they're the ones who actually write out real plans.
Yeah, trainers.
They usually dietitians will be writing it out for organizations, though.
Yes, they're not usually going to have a private practice where they meet one-on-one with clients. There's actually not very many dietitians that do that. They usually take,
and if they are, they're expensive.
Yeah, because they have the education to demand a lot higher pay.
It's the equivalent of being a doctor of food.
Yeah, and they usually take salaried positions working for large organizations, like you said.
Yep.
Hospitals, schools, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But when it comes to nutritional guidance from a trainer, that's what they can provide you as guidance. Now, a personal trainer certification does not guarantee they're going to get nutritional education. Usually there's a continuing education cert they can get that allows them to become much more well-versed in nutrition. If they have a degree, they might have minored in nutrition, or they might have a double major, and in which case
Right.
they would have gotten an RD or nutritionist license. But your average training certification will have a couple units on nutrition and supplementation, but not an extensive amount, just enough to give you some general guidance. And that's really what we're kind of, as trainers, we're somewhat limited to, is we can't technically do or nutritional prescription. So anything that a trainer gives you
As a suggestion.
is a suggestion.
Yep.
It's not exactly what you need, or usually they will. I mean, we always talk, when we talk nutrition, we always say, look, everybody's needs are different. This is generally what research shows, or this is what we've experienced anecdotally ourselves,
Sure.
or this is what our clients are undergoing. But just always remember that you need to be open to. It's not a necessarily a cookie cutter plan for you, nutritionally speaking. What that trainer provides.
Right. Well, anyway, that being said, nutritionally speaking, it can't be cookie cutter because the dynamics of bodies are so different. It's ridiculous. But supplements.
Yeah, supplementation. That's another one.
I don't know how far into supplements I want to go today.
That's true. We keep saving this one. We keep saving.
Well, the reason why is not we're afraid of it. Okay, so we'll hit on this real basic. So with supplements, there's so much out there in the world of supplements that, as we've talked about, because we've brought it up a few times, and we've said this every single time. Supplements are overprescribed, if you will, in the world of lifting. People want to jump into supplements like crazy. They're trying to find an instant pill with supplementation. Supplement is just an added thing. Supplement is to supplement with what you're eating.
Exactly.
And to be honest, we don't recommend a lot of supplements up front anyway. It's not that we say to avoid them necessarily, but most of the time it's overkill to even use them. If somebody's training a certain way, they can use certain supplements and it'll help them. Okay, and I'm not talking about things that are known as supplements that are more chemical based. Those are a completely different world too. We're not. That's outside of this. But supplements themselves are to add a benefit to food products. And so supplementation, if somebody's recommending a whole stack of supplements, usually they have an agenda.
Yeah, they're usually financially invested, and they're going to make a commission.
Right, and I'm not saying run away from them because they may tell you the right stuff. But that being said, just I would see that as a warning sign that's been stamped on their forehead if they're pushing you towards supplements instead of foods.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally have sold supplements. I'm in a process right now where I'm kind of revamping what I'm going to do with supplementation because I'm taking further measures to make sure that what I recommend is true quality, and it's even from the manufacturing process all the way to the actual ingredients that are
Which is a big deal.
included. And so, some of you listening know you've bought supplements from me before. So yes, there's a financial interest there.
Well,
But I want, whenever I recommend a supplement, it's because I do see that there's a benefit there for you. If I don't see a benefit, I'm not going to recommend it.
Right. Well, and you're not pushing a lot of them anyway.
Yeah, I don't really make a lot of money off supplementation, to be honest.
And that's not even what I'm saying. Because I mean, again, let's be real. We talked about this up front. We're always trying to be real about this stuff. And Taylor and I both want to make money on this. I mean, don't get us wrong. We want to make money on this. This is something that we're trying to make money on, and that's partly why we do it. We want to give a benefit to the people that are out there. We're trying to give you guys value, and we really are trying to make money. I mean, that's just the bottom line. But when, like I said, if they're pushing down that you have to have a supplement every blasted day, there's something wrong with that. I have whey protein myself every day, pretty much. I do it every day. I have other products that fish oil is something else that I use on a rather continual basis. There's certain properties that go along with it that I definitely am not getting in my diet. Like I don't eat fish,
But that's why you supplement what you're not getting in your
right,
diet.
because I need omega-3s, and it's something that I'm looking for. So that's what I'm saying. It's a supplement on top of your food. If I recommended fish oil to somebody, I'm recommending something that they should probably have in their diet that they don't have.
Yeah.
If I'm telling them that they should have whey protein in their diet, they're probably not eating enough proteins, and I'm going to recommend that they'd have it. I don't recommend that they kill it and they have 2 grams of whey protein a day. That's crazy compared to pound of body weight.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's insane in my opinion. And if I was pushing that, I would see an agenda that I would say stay away from. But I still take whey proteins myself. I use supplements myself. Does that mean that I wouldn't recommend that to somebody? I would recommend it to somebody. If they have certain needs, I would say this is going to help you with this specific category. I would recommend that. If they have something behind it, it makes sense. But if they're pushing supplements to push supplements, and I mean, I'm not willing to say it because I don't want to tear down, but there are people out there that's their entire livelihood is based on supplementation on top of what they're recommending as far as lifting. That to me is a sign of a bad trainer. Personally, that's how I feel.
Well, and just one thing to remember with supplementation, just because someone's a trainer, just like with nutrition,
right,
doesn't mean they're educated at all in supplementation.
Absolutely, because that is a big difference.
And in a lot of ways, understanding supplementation is as challenging, if not potentially harder, as understanding basic nutrition concepts, because there's just so many supplement types and ingredients that are out there right now. So just remember that if you're starting up with a trainer, they don't necessarily have any knowledge about supplements.
I guess I'm being unfair by saying they're a bad trainer. So that being said, on top of that, understand supplements is a totally different world. A lot of people in the industry have been taught that people need this stuff.
Yeah.
And in fairness to them, so I step back on that. That's not fair for me to call them bad trainers. They're uneducated. They're uneducated in supplementation for sure. If they're pushing it down your throat to have a ton of it, they may actually believe it. If they're trying to sell you something because they believe it, there's nothing wrong with that. They may sell you something that they believe in, and it may be the right thing for you anyway. So it really comes back to like Taylor and I talked about at the beginning of this, or more Taylor because I've been kind of staying out of this a little bit. But the honest to goodness truth is, if they care, they're trying to get you the right information.
Yeah.
And it may change over time.
They will give you the best, if they're motivated, they will give you the best information they have at the time.
Absolutely. And if it changes,
sometimes it changes, and sometimes it stays consistent.
Right.
But that's
and like I said, I use
good
supplements
trainer
myself all the time. So
yeah, me too.
Anyway,
so we've
overkilled that when we wanted to. Let's talk about this really quick before we get out of it. Understand that we want to talk about supplements in a big way. Okay, we want you guys to understand the differences and the reasons to take certain supplements because they make sense.
Yeah, we're actually working on the outline for a guide for you on what are quality supplements and how they should be used, so that you have a general idea of what to look for, when to use them, when not to use them, and what to avoid. Because there needs to be some clarification. The supplement industry is exploiting you. If you are not familiar with what you're buying, you're often just a victim of good marketing. And so we will be releasing a guide in the future to help you out with that.
And on top
and we will be supplying research to support it.
Oh, absolutely. And on top of that, we may do a side note freebie, but because that one's not going to be free, that's going to take a lot of time for us to do a really legitimate supplement guide. That's going to be a pretty time-intensive
project,
right? Because we want to make sure it's right, and we want you guys to have good information.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal to us. But we may give free stuff on base supplementation. On things that make sense and why.
Yeah.
Because that'll be basic stuff that's pretty simple to put out there. So, but that if we do that, it'll be a freebie on the side as well.
Mm-hmm. Kind of another thing to look for in a trainer is making sure they're tracking. One, they're programming for you. They're actually designing out a periodized program that is tailored for your need. But also, they're tracking your progress. They're taking measurements. They have some form of a body fat or body composition analysis to help give you more information than just what a scale can give you. Body tape, actually, like Shane has mentioned in the past episodes, just even tape measurements are a really good way to measure
for sure.
your progress. There's many ways to test body fat and things like that, but as long as they're helping you to keep progress, tracking, and giving you feedback on that progress, okay, you know, what we did here means this is happening in the body, or these results mean that this is going on, so we should adjust this way. That's kind of what you want to look for in a trainer. But I would say, you know, another huge question I get is, how long should I work with a trainer?
Right. Now, see, I think long term, a good trainer is going to look at you in the long term, because your health is until your death.
Yeah.
So the honest truth is, they're trying to look forward to make this a lifelong event for you guys, and if they can be part of that and help you through it, sweet. If they can give you the foundation that you can do it on your own without them, sweet. But I think a good trainer is going to actually lead you in a life, or at least give you the direction to go in a lifelong pursuit of this.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hire a trainer because they think it's a quick fix, that a trainer can just zoom them into a program that is going to just produce immediate, rapid results. And though your results will be definitely accelerated and the quality of those results will be increased by working with a trainer, you need to think long term. You need to think, how long did it take you to get to where you're at? It took you your entire life of particular habits, or maybe you were healthy before, but you fell off the wagon, and it took you, you know, however long you were off the wagon for to get you to where you're at. Think a comparable amount of time to get back to, or finally get to, the health and fitness that you want to be at. A lot of people, you know, want 2-month, 3-month, 16-week programs, and though you can see results on those programs, it's short-lived, and you'll plateau. And so you really need to be looking at, okay, I am investing in a coach who's going to educate me in many aspects of health, to where I can become self-sufficient and be able to continue to maintain or see progress on my own. Right. Now, however long that takes me is how long I should be willing to commit to that investment. Because then, after that, it doesn't matter if you invested thousands and thousands of dollars. In my opinion, you can't put a price on your health or extending your life by dramatic amounts of years. And you'll be able to maintain that on your own if you invest in a quality trainer. And so don't look at it as a short-term fix. Look at it as a long-term investment, well, like I said, and a process.
It goes for the rest of your life. You know, if you're 90 years old, if you're not putting something into your health, you're going the wrong direction. So, but the funny thing is, I want to say that good trainers aren't necessarily a key, but if you have no idea which direction you're going, it's going to help you actually to focus into the direction that you want. You know, it's something that is worth the money, because I mean, without health, what do you have? That's to put this all simple and down to the reality, nitty gritty of it all. If your health goes completely away, you have no money anyway, because you're done. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you should go out and throw your money away to get a trainer just to get a trainer, but to get the right trainer, or to get someone that can actually help you get through it, is a big benefit in the gym, because then you have a direction. I think ultimately the reason to get a personal trainer is for a direction for yourself, so you can move forward. It's not a requirement. It's not something you need to do. You know, I'm never going to suggest that someone has to have a trainer. But the reality is to make your education process faster, and to make it so you have less potential injury, and for sanity in the gym, you can if you get a good trainer, guaranteed you will get all of those.
Yeah, and like he's saying, not to put down a group training or a boot camp or
either one of those down, 'cause they can be done
boutique
right.
Gym or other of a lot of these franchises popping up, like Orange Theory, those kind of things. We're not trying to discredit those, but what we are saying is that the quality of training experience from working with a qualified, educated trainer who has the heart of a
Right.
teacher and will motivate and educate you. Nothing trumps that because it is
Right.
solely focused
sure.
on you and your development and your fitness. Those other types of programs can be totally beneficial, not as comparatively to working with the
One-on-one.
right trainer for you.
Yeah, one-on-one training is hard to beat.
Yeah, very hard.
So
The last thing I kind of want to talk about is I really want to bring to light part of the actual sales process from a trainer's perspective, but educating the clients, Shane, on something that I think they need to overcome. And this is something that we're actually taught when trainers get a job, if they get hired on at a place where they have a team of salespeople or trainers, is overcoming objections. Meaning that
Makes sense.
obviously when you come into a trainer, you finally get you have the experience, you're ready to invest. They sit down and they show you their pricing. It's uncomfortable, or it can be, depending on what your income and budget and things like that are. But it's important to remember why you're there. Yes, like we said, it's an investment. I think you should look at it that way if you find the right trainer, not as an expense. But you're going to have
Absolutely,
objections
though.
fly
That's
up.
true.
I mean, you're doing something uncomfortable. Your body and mind don't like to be under stress, and so it's going to try to talk you out of it. If you have already decided this is what you want to do, and you found the right trainer that's a fit for you, don't let the dollar signs be the thing that gets in between you and that experience, because that can be a transformational experience for you. So, obviously, the most common objection is I can't afford it. I think every person that has a decent job can afford it. It's about restructuring where you're spending your money. Where you're spending your money right now is contributing to your unhealthy lifestyle. It's either in the way that you're buying food, or it's the movies, or the dining out, or the lunches out with friends from work. Now, not every single person is going through that, but I think that you kind of get the point with that. It's the Starbucks that you're buying, 1, 2, 3, 5 times a week. Those kind of things. That's your training money. All you got to do is restructure where you're spending some things and start saying, where can I spend
to reinvest
in my health, and where am I spending that's taking away from my health? And that's how you can kind of find some money to invest in training. You probably, if you sat down with that trainer, you already have a number that you can afford. I mean, it
that
rarely,
you can see in your head.
Rarely you're going to sit down with a trainer and truly not have thought about the money
Ahead of time.
aspect.
Yeah.
You're
I don't
going
know
to
of anybody who's done
know
that.
I can afford 100, I can afford 200, I can afford 300 or 1,000, whatever your income level is, whatever the amount that you can afford is. You know about that number, and so if getting it close to that number is what's comfortable for you, any training is going to benefit you. And just work with your trainer. Don't object immediately because their pricing is not favorable. Try to work with them to find a package that's comfortable for you.
Right. That makes sense to me.
A lot of people talk about their spouse. They're not necessarily the one that runs the finances. Maybe they aren't the one that brings home the bread or the bacon. That's a hard one, because really you do need to check in with that person. That is something that's going to be a big impact to the budget, and I can respect that. What I would do is, if that's the case, before you even go see a trainer, bring your spouse in and with you to that session, so that you can have that conversation or have that conversation ahead of time, so okay, my husband or my wife is comfortable with me spending this much.
Getting them to buy in early is better always on anything like that.
Or if you just want them there to talk about pricing with the trainer there, just
Which
plan
is not
for
a bad
it.
thing either.
It's not. I mean, it's a way that you can feel comfortable during the process of purchase and investing into a fitness program. So, I mean, the next thing is going to be scheduling. Obviously, you're going to have to match your schedule with your trainer, and that can be tough. Sometimes it means either the trainer or you is going to have to make a sacrifice on scheduling.
Well, and that's the thing is you got to make a decision when you're looking at your own schedule.
Yeah.
What's more important? So someone who schedules a ton, like Taylor would, because I'm not that guy, is someone that would sit down. For myself, is someone who'd sit down and be able to tell you, I got an opening between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the seat of the pants guy, so I have an opening between these hours, and I don't know when I'm going to be open. That's my problem. So when I'm scheduling for myself, outside of anything working with somebody, because that you got to work with their schedule if you're on my side of the coin, I make my time. So if I want to be with somebody at a specific time, I make it that time, if that makes sense. It's easier for someone in my kind of mentality to be able to schedule it. But you got to take into consideration, what's more important. And so prioritize and set it up so that you have a timeline, because your health is very important.
Yeah.
And if you're working with a trainer, find a time that's going to work for both them and yourself, because when you ultimately make your decision, you just got to go forward with it, and you don't want to close it off.
You need to commit.
Yes.
You really need to say, I'm going to commit to this. It's uncomfortable, but I'm willing to give this a go.
Right.
If that means that you can't go to lunch with your friends at work Monday, Wednesday, Friday because you have a training session, do it.
Absolutely.
It's fine. It's going to be uncomfortable and different at first, but that is what you got to do. If health is important to you, or if your fitness goal is important to you, you're going to have to make sacrifices. Because we know we all commit our time to certain things, and you're going to have to
it's a decision
shift
process.
Things around, carve out the time in order to make it happen. So go into the training session, that initial training session with a potential trainer, knowing that you're going to have to make some scheduling sacrifices potentially, especially if they're a great trainer and they do have limited schedule. That is a good sign. Try to get in with them, because if they only have a couple spots left, you know that they're in demand, you know that they deliver a good service, and it's worth making a sacrifice in your schedule, getting up an hour early or staying an hour late after work, or cutting out your lunch hour because you're going to work with that qualified person. I think that the one of the other common ones that I get in terms of an objection during the process of signing up a client is when someone says, I need to think about it. Basically, you're saying, this is a big decision. I have to commit to this. It's uncomfortable for me. It's a large amount of money. Whatever those other objections are, you're just saying, I need to buy time. I need to buy time to make this comfortable decision. Honestly, the statistics show that when you are sitting there at the sales presentation, you have the most amount of information and the best recollection of that information at that moment. So you actually don't need more time to make a better decision. The longer you wait, the less available information you'll be able to recall. And so you won't actually have more information, you'll have less. As well as, like Shane just said, you're less likely to talk, or you're more likely to talk yourself out of it.
Right. Not that it's a rash decision, because usually if you're sitting down with a trainer, you've thought about this for quite a while. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying that I don't know, I haven't really got this chance to make this decision. If somebody's outside, you haven't talked to your husband, wife, whatever, that makes sense. That's a legitimate reason to step away if you really do need to speak with them about it. But if you're just saying it because you want to gather more information, the odds are you've already said no.
Yeah. Yeah, the likelihood of someone purchasing after they leave the sales appointment is usually about less than 10%.
Yeah,
that's from anecdotal experience. That's not necessarily a true stat, but when I work with people, if they leave, 9 out of 10 times they're not coming back, and that's just.
I bet it's higher than that. I bet it's a lot higher than that. I think that if you were to take it at 100 out of 100 people, it's going to be more like 95 of them is not going to come back.
Potentially, yeah. It really depends on the trainer and the experience that they had, and
for sure,
and the commitment level of the client going into it.
Well, and if they're coming back to that gym or not, because there's a lot of people that won't even come back.
True. If it's the gym that you work out at already, the likelihood that you'll work with that trainer will probably be higher, because you're going to see them on a regular basis. Yep. And if they're a good trainer, they're going to talk to you, give you some more valuable information, and help motivate you. So you'll usually probably end up working with them later. The last little thing I want to say, because this is getting pretty lengthy in the podcast, is the last objection that I come across a lot is that people think that they need to be in better shape before they start with a trainer. That's definitely, can that help? Sure. However, if you're sitting down there and talking with a trainer and you're ready to go,
why are you there?
What? Yeah, like why do you feel you need to go get in better shape on your own when you just admitted you don't have the information, you don't know what to do? on your own. And in fact, you'll probably put yourself into a bigger rut or plateau or do something potentially wrong with nutrition that might slow your progress down even further than if you just started with a trainer.
Right.
If you're there, you're ready, money's not an issue, your spouse is on board, you're committed, you want to do it, but you feel like you need to be in better shape, just do it.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
don't need to be in better shape, just start. And if they're a good trainer, they're going to help you faster than you can help yourself.
Well, here's the question: if you're looking to do it in the first place anyway, and you're talking to a trainer, and you got the money, and you have the availability, and you have all the times and all that kind of stuff set up, my question is why wouldn't you go to an expert, a true expert, as opposed to winging it when you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah,
I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense to trying to get in better shape yourself when you're actually going to somebody to get in better shape.
Yeah.
So
just wanted to let you know that all this information that we've kind of packaged for you in this podcast, we actually did put together into what we call our consumer awareness guide, how to know if a personal training is right for you and how to find the right trainer. So the link where you can download that, if you go to my name, Taylor, Taylor, MP, EMPEY, fitproconnect.com/consumer guide, you'll be able to download all this information that we just talked about so that you can, if you're considering working with a trainer, you can review this information and know the questions to ask when you go meet with a trainer. And definitely I recommend you shop multiple trainers. Do not... so if you do walk away,
good feeling, I would still go with them.
Yeah, if you have a good feeling with the trainer, and you feel like they're educated, then go ahead and sign up with them. If you feel like it's the right choice,
just make it.
I would say
a
do
smart
this.
decision on it. Is all.
Do your homework first.
Yes.
Look up testimonials. See if the trainers have a website. Look at reviews on Yelp. If a gym has a Yelp review up or something like that, see what other experiences people are having. Ask clients. If you're at a gym and you see someone with a trainer that you're considering hiring, when they're done with their session, go talk to that client. Say, hey, how's that going with your trainer? Is that someone you would recommend to me? Like, what's your experience like? Are you seeing results? Their initial response to you is going to tell you more than you'll really be able to find out on your own because they're learning firsthand from that trainer. So, but definitely do some due diligence and homework ahead of time, and I think you're going to be more satisfied with your investment. But again, that link to get the consumer awareness guide with all this information we're talking about is my name, Taylor, MP, EMPEY, fitproconnect.com/consumer guide. And till next time, we'll be signing off.
Let's move along.
Talk to you soon. See you later. Thank you for listening to Metabolic Radio. Check out our fitness guides at metabolicradio.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Metabolic Radio. And follow us on Instagram at Metabolic Radio, at The Metabolic Seahorse, and at The Metabolic Panda. Metabolic Radio.